So I didn't plug in my microphone, so I'm going to voice over this. But basically, we're talking about the updates that we're seeing in the Gaza ceasefire agreement. Basically, to start off, a few days ago, Israel basically came out and said, we don't want to follow the ceasefire that we agreed to, and instead want to propose our own ceasefire. This new ceasefire that Israel wants to propose is ludicrous. It's pointless. It doesn't do anything. This new ceasefire is basically saying you need to give up all of the Israelis that you have, and in doing so, we are going to not kill you for 6 weeks. The actual intention of the second phase of the ceasefire was for there to be the reconstruction of Gaza starting. The second phase of the ceasefire was meant to be most of, if not all of the Israelis in Gaza were to be returned, and in doing so, Israel was to end its aggressions completely in Gaza. All of the Israeli soldiers remaining in Gaza were supposed to be evacuated or forced to leave Gaza at that point, but instead Israel said, actually, what about what we do is you give up all of your leverage and we won't kill you for 6 weeks, or at the time of them proposing it, so up until April 20th, so the duration of Ramadan, and up until Passover. In doing so, this basically seems like it means that Israel would want to re-engage the war afterwards. They'd want to start bombing Palestine and Gaza once again after those 6 weeks. Essentially, it goes against everything that the ceasefire stood for. The ceasefire was agreed upon by Joe Biden. Joe Biden proposed this ceasefire, allegedly, in May last year. And then Israel said, we don't like the ceasefire. And then Joe Biden was like, yeah, we don't like the ceasefire either. When it was like, you were the one who proposed the goddamn ceasefire, Joe Biden. And then eventually they got them to sign it in December with additional concessions from Hamas's side. And now they want to go back on it because they feel emboldened to do so by the new US president. Hamas, for their part, was like, no, we're not doing that because we agreed on a ceasefire. The world saw us agree on a particular ceasefire. Why would we change the ceasefire? And as you can see, I'm showing you here, the French actually put out a statement. The French put out a statement basically saying that they want the Israelis to stick to the ceasefire that was already agreed upon, and for Israel to start giving back the humanitarian aid, because Israel said, we're not giving you humanitarian aid until you agree to this new ceasefire that we want to propose. The French obviously were like, yeah, October 8, we condemn that, because they always do that. But at the very least, it's interesting to see the French and some other nations basically come out and talk about making some changes and ensuring Israel sticks to the ceasefire that was already agreed upon, probably because they're afraid the French will start revolting, or protesting again. They're afraid us in the UK will start protesting again, and in doing so, harming businesses through boycotts and stuff. So really, it doesn't seem they care very much. They just don't want any more issues caused by people like me, and probably you who is watching this video. But it is interesting to see, at the very least, the French putting out a statement on this. I don't believe the British have done that yet. We've also seen that Arab nations basically came out and put together their own proposal for Gaza. So this is more in relation to Donald Trump's idea of, we're going to colonize Gaza as the United States and we're going to rebuild it ourselves. The Arabs basically came together and said, no, instead of that, we're going to put together about $53 billion, about £41 billion to help the reconstruction of Gaza. Obviously, this is likely going to become with caveats. I'm sure the Arab nations want something out of this, whether it be financial, guarantees from the Palestinians long term. This might just be a good PR play for them as well, because they are mostly responsible for what's going on, because for so long they've allowed the United States and Israel to trample all over the nation, and particularly the Palestinian people. So yeah, I'm not too sure what their end goal is here. Maybe it is just a PR thing to also, quell their own citizens as well. But at the very least, it is a far better alternative to Donald Trump's. As you can see from the map that I am about to show you, this is all the areas that were destroyed by Israel. It is predominantly very highly populated areas. These are areas that people lived in, because Israel's goal was always to ensure the maximum amount of casualties against the people in Gaza and against people in Palestine. So the reconstruction will take at least 15 years by UN standards or UN estimations, and even doing so, that will be where Palestine was before Israel's attacks, and even then we don't know if Israel's going to even allow this. We don't know if the United States is going to allow this, because they are just terrible. It's just hot. And the most recent detail is that Donald Trump basically came out and said just horrible things about the Palestinian people. I'll be highlighting them on the screen here when I originally recorded this. But basically, he is threatening the Palestinians with genocide again. He said, unless you let go of all the bodies right away, if you let go of all the hostages, I'm going to give Israel every means necessary to kill all of you. He even addressed to the people of Gaza. He said, if you don't do something, you will be dead at the end. He is basically shouting genocidal intent against the Palestinian people, and the Western leaders are saying absolutely nothing about the absolute genocidal intent of the United States. Let's be honest, US policy has always been, we don't care how many Palestinians die as long as our colony Israel gets what it wants. Joe Biden, I believe in the wake of October the 7th, gave Israel a blank check. He basically said, do what you need to. And that's what Israel did. Israel did what they thought they needed to, or at least they basically took the blank check from Joe Biden and killed as many Palestinians as possible. I believe Donald Trump is saying the exact same thing. He just doesn't have the political nous to say it in a way like Joe Biden would. Like Joe Biden would say it in a way to basically hide US culpability. Donald Trump, I don't know if this is just he believes it's his brand. He's going to say it how it is. And in doing so, he says it how it is in a way that doesn't hide US culpability. He has basically openly said, I am fine with you genociding the Palestinian people, Israel. Go ahead and do it. And that's always been US policy. It's just Donald Trump just says it in a way that isn't hidden the way other leaders would, even other Republican leaders would and have. So the United States' goal is the mass genocide of the Palestinian people, and frankly, we are the ones who are going to have to step up and do it. You and me, you behind the camera, me behind the other side of the camera, we are going to have to be the ones to end it, because our leaders won't. I'm sure in the UK, they'll put out some sort of puff piece statement and be like, no, don't kill people, guys. And then in the same turn, just sell more weapons to Israel, give more weapons to Israel. Well, I mean, it'll go towards their defense budget goals or whatever. They're trying to make money off of defense. They're just going to, continue selling stuff to Israel. And those of us who are trying to stop this, if we want mass appeal, we need to do several routes. Obviously, there's boycotting, there's direct action, and there's stuff like protests. Obviously, I don't expect everyone to do direct action. Very few people will do direct action, and I highly respect them for that. If you want to get the masses involved with perhaps boycotts, I think that's a good way to do it as well. Everyone doing, or the masses doing the things like the boycotts, will help support those people who are doing the direct action as well, make it even more impactful. And frankly, I think we need to start taking a leaf out of the Canadians' book. I said I don't have much sympathy for the Canadians, and I still don't, but them looking at boycotting US brands seems to be something we should start be doing here elsewhere in the West. Obviously, it's a lot harder to boycott US brands because they own so much, but it might just have to be something we need to do. Crushing the economy of these nations is the only way that's going to stop these capitalist nations, because all they care about is ensuring they make more and more money, and making it so the businesses and the stakeholders make less money is the only way they are going to acknowledge any wrongdoing or any issues. So yeah, if you can, keep up what you're doing, keep up boycotting, keep up using your skills, whatever skills you have, and getting involved in this stuff. Organize locally in your local area, your religious groups, your workspace as well, because we are the ones who are going to be the ones to have to be responsible, because truly our elected officials will not care, because all they care about is lining their own pockets. Also, yeah, sorry, me speaking is completely out of sync with me on the screen because I forgot to turn on my mic when I recorded the original video, and I'll be honest, I don't want to re-record the whole video once again.